Now that the DLC for map Forsaken in Cold War Zombies has been out for about a week now, I thought it would be useful to find what I think are the best training spots in the map and put them into a top 5 list. Now granted that Forsaken is a map with a lot of tight areas, so finding some good training spots can be a little bit tricky, but I managed to find 5 which I really do think are just the top 5, and these should be able to get you to some high rounds, so definitely give these a try in your game if you're a bit bored of just camping with Ring of Fire. On the other hand, if you want to find a Ring of Fire camp strategy and it's very easy for round 100, I actually did a guide on that. I'll put that in an iCard there if you would want to check that out. And as always, comment your thoughts on Forsaken down below now that we've had a week to take in this map. What are you all thinking about it? Let me know in the comments. But let's move on to the list, and coming in with our first entry in the number 5 spot, this is the Particle Accelerator room. Now this room does have a good circular structure and it's similar to one of the training spots on The Machine, where you go just underneath Pack-a-Punch. But the problem with this is, and this is why it's at the number 5, although it has a good circular shape to it, it's a very tight area, and I honestly think that Stamin' Up is recommended for this, even PhD Slider maybe, just so you can dodge and weave your way through the hordes as they're coming to you. And an even bigger problem with this spot is, if there's something like an Abomination, there's a good chance that they might be the difference between life and death, because they could block a part you need to get to in this location, and you don't want to be getting in their way and bumping into them and getting stuck, because it is probably not going to end very well. One advantage I will say that this spot has going for it is that there is a workbench and an armor station like stupidly close, and I think something else that is good to note about this place is that because it is one of the more tighter training areas on this list, it kind of makes this natural choke point, so you can just fire behind you and you'll just be able to take a lot of zombies down with you. And I feel like Molotovs would be really good if you're planning to train here for a little bit, but I wouldn't recommend sticking with this spot for like a whole match. Maybe rotate to somewhere else if you're planning on training here, because in those higher rounds this place will get very hectic very fast. I mean, what do I know, maybe you're just a masochist looking for a challenge, and if that is the case, then the Particle Accelerator room is for you. But overall, it's definitely not a bad spot, just gotta kind of watch yourself when you're here, and that's why it is in spot number 5. Moving on to our number 4 spot, this is gonna be on Main Street, and it'll be right outside of Bruce's Deck Bar, and if you don't know where that is, it's just opposite Jim's Donuts. And once again, this is a bit of a smaller, tighter training area, but it's consistent nonetheless. It's a very nice square area. My advice for training on this one is just to focus on the zombies that are ahead of you, and luckily there is Jug right next to this spot if you are to go down, and you know, I don't have to worry about that because I'm like the best zombies player ever. And some advice for the beginning of rounds in this place to try and minimize the chaos, if you will, is to just go for some window spawns at the start of the round. There is a portal not too far, in fact it's right next to Jug, so if you need a quick escape then you should be able to make it there. If you're in a pickle, it's not very far away at all. And some other things that aren't very far away from this spot is, considering it's in Main Street, there's a few perks. I believe there's Jug and Stamin' Up, as well as Quick Revive there, so you know, there's some pretty good perks to have. There's also a workbench, so I'm sure they'll prove useful to you. And whilst you're training here, don't be afraid to just move out of the little square bit that you are training in onto the main road where the traffic lights are. Like, don't feel like you need to stay in that square, because if you need the breathing room, then it's good to just quickly dip out of the square and then go back in once the zombies have separated a little bit, or you've managed to lower their numbers. Play your cards right with this spot, and honestly I don't think it'd actually be too bad, although it would prove to be a bit of a challenge. With the way I'm describing this, it does sound very similar to the Particle Accelerator, and it is, except I think it's just that bit more breathable. Advancing up to the number 3 spot, this is outside of the theatre in Anytown West. Now I really like this place. It's nice and breathable, pretty open. There's an ammo chest not far from you, as well as a Milano on the wall and a box location, and there's a trap here as well, so that's pretty convenient if it's needed. And although there are many obstacles in the way of this, aka the vehicles that are all just crashed down and broken, you can end up funneling zombies into a good choke point here, and the spawns in this area do not feel anywhere near as overwhelming and inconvenient as the other 2 places I've listed. And something I like about this training spot spot is it doesn't have to be this overly consistent route. So there is a bit of free-forming training that you can do on those earlier rounds. So don't worry about taking a slightly different route whilst you're kiting some zombies. There's another portal not too far from this place as well if you just run up the stairs onto the roof. But overall, I think the obstacles are the biggest detriment to this place, but it's still a very open area. Overall, this one's a pretty reliable spot and I definitely think it is worth a try. However, there is a better spot in my opinion than Anytown West, and it is in fact right next to it. Onto the number 2 spot, this is Anytown East, more specifically just outside of Burgertown. This takes what outside of the theatre in Anytown West does, but just infinitely better. There's not as many obstacles in the way, and the ones that are, honestly, you won't get stuck on them, and they won't really feel like they're in your way. Now, I did get stuck on a little sign, but that was my own fault because I went way too close to it. Something good about Anytown East is that it is just so simple and straightforward. You just run from one end to the other and then loop back around, and the Bubby statue that is outside seems to just make another really good choke point, which, can I just say, that's what Forsaken training spots seem to be really good for, just having really nice choke points. And honestly, I do think that because of how often you get to just turn around in this choke point and just spray zombies down, you could probably pass rounds fairly quick. And a little touch that I really enjoy about this spot is, since you're right outside of Burgertown, there are actually burgers in Burgertown, believe it or not, and you can go in there and eat them to regen health if the situation calls for it. Now, the only downside I can actually think of for this training spot is that there aren't too many utilities for you at your disposal. So there's the burgers that restore health, which is pretty useful. Deadshot and Elemental Pop aren't too far away either. I think there's a war weapon just round the corner as well, and an ammo chest in Burgertown. Now, the ammo chest is great, and I guess so are the perks, but there's nothing like a workbench nor an armor station very close by. And so if you need a training spot with an armor station or a workbench or both, just so you know that you can go to them when you need them really quickly, then maybe Anytown East isn't the spot for you. But if you can make do without them, then go right ahead and just train in this spot. It's 100% just one of the best ones you're going to find in Forsaken, and so that is why this is the number 2 position. And now for the number 1 ranked training spot by yours truly is none other than the staging area, aka Spawn. Now listen, I don't know what it is with Cold War, but their spawn areas seem to be the best training spots. Go back and watch the other top 5s, and I can guarantee that Spawn in the other maps is going to be one of the higher ranked spots. But once again with Cold War, nothing has changed here. This spawn area just slaps. It's got some real big meat energy behind it, okay? This is what the average training enjoyer does. They go to this spot. Staging area, although you're not going to be running the most consistent trains, there's just so much space that's available to you here. There's an armor station, a workbench, death perception, which by the way is literally like one of the perfect perks for this spot. There's even a Daimati on the wall, which is one of the best guns in the game. And there's an ammo crate, so ammo isn't going to be a problem either. There's 2 portals you can go to. One of them will take you to Main Street, and the other one is going to take you straight to Pack-a-Punch. So that's going to be a very safe and swift escape if you need to go there. There's plenty of space here, and don't even get me started on the choke point, okay? There's a blue container that's next to the ammo crate, and this thing just, it's such a good choke point. This is the best example I've seen of a choke point in a train in Cold War Zombies. Run a train in here and literally one Semtex will do the job. You'll be able to rack up kills very fast if you use that effectively. All the zombies just huddled together in such a tight fit. I can imagine a death machine would be so fun. And there's always another escape route. You don't have to just run one way. If you just so happen to be running one route and then that gets blocked off, there's going to be a path right next to you can take to get out of any close calls. And that is why staging area is the number 1 spot. Many escape routes, many utilities, wide open area, a good choke point, and just very flexible to train in. But anyways guys, I'm going to leave this video here today. If you enjoyed this video or you agree with this list, then be sure to smash the like button. Comment any spots that you think should have been on this list down below and tell me why. And only a very small percentage of people are even subscribed to the channel, so if you've made it this far, then definitely subscribe, you won't regret it. Turn on the notification bell too to stay notified whenever I upload a video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.